endorsement of your experts. In this section, we're going to talk about techniques to ask questions of the opposing expert that might yield some favorable endorsement of your experts or the writings or their opinions. It's always beneficial to get the opposing expert to say that your expert is the authority, or your expert relied on a treatise that's accepted, or your expert's opinion is a well-accepted opinion, or your expert's article that they wrote is an article that is directly on point and is reliable, or the testing that they perform, or where they taught. What you want to try to do is to get that opposing expert to endorse your expert in some way. So you want to ask them questions that will bring them to that particular point without necessarily saying, do you endorse our expert? So you might ask them, let's say, for example, that you were aware that your expert wrote some articles that have been well accepted, that were printed in the New England Journal of Medicine, or were accepted as gospel, or were the finite articles that everybody uses now to perform this test or to evaluate that test. You might want to ask the person, what do you consider as authoritative in the area of pinstriping, in the area of blood alcohol analysis? Well, I consider Jones to be the foremost authority. Okay. Have you seen any articles on blood alcohol? Or have you seen the article by Dr. Smith on blood alcohol testing? Yes. Do you consider that article to be authoritative? Or, said another way, do you consider that article to be valid? Is it an accepted application of the medicine or of the science? Have you ever seen that article cited anywhere? Do you consider that article to be truthful, honest, reliable? No? Okay, why not? Let's go to the article and tell me each and everything that you think is wrong with that article. Tell me each and everything that isn't scientifically reliable. Tell me each and every fact that is faulty in the way in which they analyzed the particular contents of the article. Go through each thing. You probably won't get that. Particularly if you have a really good article that's about the subject. Sometimes if that article's been cited, you can say, you don't consider it authoritative? Okay, are you aware that it's been cited in the very treatise that you said is the authoritative treatise? Yes, no, I didn't know. Are you aware that this particular article has been cited in 363 treatises? Or that it has been used as a definitive analysis in 14 different associations? Or that the head association uses this test or uses this individual, and the way in which they test as the finite way of testing? You see what we're doing? What we're trying to do is we're trying to get them to endorse these things. And if they don't, we're saying, fine. If you don't, you better explain why it is that not only is it wrong, but why everybody else who's relying on it is an idiot also. Okay? If your individual's been published a lot, you could say, are you aware that Dr. Crane has other published articles? Do you know anything about him? What do you know about him? Tell me what your opinion of that doctor is. In a deposition, it might be relevant. In trial, it may or may not be relevant. But in a deposition, he's a great expert, he's a bad expert, he's a horrible human being, he's a great person. I have nothing against him. I just disagree with his conclusions. Okay, have you ever agreed with his conclusions? Is there anything he's ever written? Of the 57 articles he's written, are there any articles you disagree with? Oh, you haven't read them? Okay, he teaches at the main institution that is the definitive institution on this subject. He is the president of an organization. Okay? Well, do you think he's not the authority in the subject? Okay, why isn't he authority? It doesn't matter if they badmouth or say anything. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get them to either endorse or to provide me with a really good explanation why they shouldn't. And again, if I have an expert that has no credentials, that's not very good. If I have an expert that's not very good, this is not a good technique. But let's assume you do. If the expert has a particular type of degree, he has a PhD in electrical engineering. Okay, you could say, do you consider a PhD in electrical engineering to be the top degree in the field of engineering or in the field of electrical engineering? Or how would you rate the degree of, postdoctorate or a PhD degree in the field of electrical engineering? It doesn't matter what they say. Again, it might be the highest degree. You want to know that. That's different than a master's degree, right? You need more training and more skills than having a master's degree to have a PhD, right? That's more than a BA degree. That's more than a BE degree. That's more than whatever degree, the bachelor's degree that person got. Right? Right. You know, if they have certifications, okay, what do you believe are the recognized certifications in this area of expertise that you're testifying about? None, 4, whatever. If they tell me all the certifications, if they say none and you know what the certifications are, you can raise them. If they tell you the certifications, you say, are you aware of whether Dr. Crane has that certification? Well, as a matter of fact, he does, or no, I don't. Well, let me show you his resume, or let me show you his licensure. If you looked at his licensure, does that show you that he has the same kind of credentials that you just said are worthy credentials to render opinions in this case? Yes, in fact, you have those credentials, right? Match whatever credentials they have to your person. So if they have credentials, you say you have a PhD in biomechanics, and you have a master's degree in this, and you have a so-and-so in that, okay? You consider those to be authoritative degrees to enable you to render an opinion, or which of these degrees did you use, or whatever you say. If your person has them, are you aware that Dr. Crane also has those degrees? You know, you might want to go through with them why those degrees are so helpful for them first, and then say, isn't it true Dr. Crane has those degrees? Now again, you may or may not want to ask this. The concept is right now we're looking for the strategy of endorsing certain opinions. If your particular expert has rendered an opinion, that's an acceptable opinion. That their opinion is a common opinion. That in this type of environment of 100 plus mile an hour winds, it is likely that modified bitumen roof systems will deteriorate or have uplift or have water intrude. And that's a regular opinion that's commonly accepted when you have winds in excess of 100 miles an hour or 140 miles an hour. Then you can say, you know, what is the typical opinions? Or let me give you an opinion, you know, or however you wish to word it. The concept of getting them to say, yes, I agree that that type of opinion is a reasonable and valid opinion. Maybe they don't know what your opinion is. Maybe your guy hasn't rendered his opinion. Maybe he or she has. But the concept is that what you're doing is you're getting an endorsement of the opinions. If they say, no, I can't endorse it, okay, tell me why. Tell me each and every circumstance under which you could have 140 mile an hour wind and it would not displace a modified bitumen roof. Or tell me specifically why you think that that is not an opinion that is readily acceptable in the community. Whatever they say, you question them from that. Well, I don't think the science always works. Okay, what do you mean when you say, I don't think the science works? Remember, you ask questions based on what they say. You don't ask questions based on what you want. So if they say, well, the accepted science really doesn't always support that. Okay, what do you mean by accepted science? Tell me what books you're referring to. What science are you referring to? Show me that science. Tell me what that science says. Cite me to that publication. Cite me to that rule. Tell me what that is so that I can go back to my expert and find out why you didn't use it, or I can break apart yours and show that it's just garbage what this expert is saying. I want to know. So they either have to endorse or they have to explain why it's not valuable. Again, the important thing is that what you're doing is you're endorsing things that are helpful to you. You're getting that expert to dedicate the time to either say they endorse what your person is doing, or they have to explain why they don't endorse. Particularly if they don't have a degree and your person doesn't have a degree, that's also a helpful thing. So keep in mind all of these trigger points to getting your expert to endorse theirs. You can also get your expert to endorse simple theories, like, do you agree that the sun rises from the east? Let's say it has something to do with the angle of the sun and how it impacted a particular object or process. You know, let's say that, would you agree that acid will have this effect on wood every time it is spilled on it? Would you agree that when somebody slams on their brakes, or when somebody applies pressure to a brake in a car, of the most amount of force they can brake, that it will create, you know, black rubber lines, or whatever it is that you're going to say? This concept of getting acceptance of some of the base parts of the theories. You see what we're doing? What we've done is we're getting endorsements of either the expert, their opinions, their degrees, their fundamental analysis, the facts upon which they base their analysis. And each one of these is helpful in the process of taking a wonderful deposition of an expert witness.